God bless football, Billy Gill.
God bless football, Mike Golic.
God bless football and our new batch of millionaires, Mikey A.
God bless football, Stugotz.
Yep. Let's start with the richest of them all, Lamar Jackson. Not even the NFL draft. Yeah. We need to get to Lamar Jackson, and we need to get your thoughts, Mike, because we have not spoken to you since the Jets made it official with Aaron Rodgers, and he did it in a Jets hat, Jets press conference, all the things that I was waiting for, he finally did. But before we get to the draft, and there were plenty of surprises. Will Levis is still available. Hendon Hooker is still available. The Colts, I think, were the most surprising team, taking Anthony Richardson as far up in the draft as they did. But your thoughts, Lamar Jackson, a lot of people, myself included, criticized him for not having an agent, and today he has the richest contract in the history of the NFL, Mike.
Well, I mean, this one ended up, guys, how exactly, and I said it, on God Bless Football, I said he's going to end up back in Baltimore. As soon as we found out he really didn't have any suitors for a guaranteed contract, because whether, again, the owners colluded, as I said, they didn't need to collude to know they didn't want to do what Haslam did. So
right.
They didn't even need to tell each other, hey, let's not do this. They weren't going to do it, and they didn't. Now we have two more. One thing I did say is there will be a quarterback eventually that will get to $200 million guaranteed. So we have Burrow and Herbert left. They might get there, but they're not getting fully guaranteed deals. And I don't even think they're trying for him anymore. I mean, everything was kind of thrown on Lamar Jackson to get this, and he was trying to get this. Probably would have been talked out of it by an agent a while ago that he wasn't going to get it, but it took a while, but he ended up right back where I thought he was, and you're right. So think about real quickly, people say, oh, God, the agent, what are you worried about the agent? Well, we're talking about monopoly money anyway, but let's do some quick math, okay? So he's doing look at Lamar got 185 guaranteed with injury. So let's just use that number. Right. So normally you pay an agent 3%. All right. So 185 million at 3% is what? So it's about 1,854 and another about 5.55 million, something like that. Mm-hmm. I think it's right in that area. So that's what he saved. Some people might say, well, man, he probably could have gotten more than that had he used an agent and made up for that 5 million. But basically that's what he saved, and he did it by himself. So we'll give him that. The one thing I do like about the deal is the fact, he's going to be a free agent before Jalen Hurts. Lamar's deal is a 5-year deal starting now. Jalen is a 5-year extension with the last year of his rookie year. Still has to play. So his is really a 6-year long deal before he can hit free agency, if in fact he does. And Lamar, 5 years. So I think once the Jalen Hurts deal got done, that was the floor for Lamar, and said, basically it turned out to be, give me a little bit more. $5 million more in guaranteed, $5 million more in total, and boom, we're done. We're going back and we're going to be in Baltimore.
I think the agent could have saved him some time, some headache, and perhaps gotten him, because let's be clear, what Lamar was seeking, Lamar did not get. He did a great job for himself.
Yes, he did.
And you're right, he did save that 3% that he normally would have paid an agent, but he didn't get exactly what he wanted, Mike. He did not.
Oh, no, he did not. He wanted to be the first
right.
long-term guarantee, because we have to remember Kirk Cousins got a 3-year 84 fully guaranteed, but we're talking about, the Deshaun Watson $230 million deal that he was using as a precedent and owners were using as an outlier. So that's going to be the only, I guess we're going to have to quantify it, because I think there will be shorter, fully guaranteed deals. But let's say this is going to be the only fully guaranteed contract over $200 million. Maybe. I mean, maybe we'll get there at some point. We may get to a 5-year, $300 million deal with $200 million guaranteed, but I don't think ever that fully guaranteed deal. But yeah, he didn't get what he wanted. But listen, a lot of people, no one's going to look at him and say, oh man, he really got screwed. Now he has to go back to Baltimore. I mean, no. And like I said, all that if there in fact was bad blood when he said trade me and they couldn't work anything out. As I said all along, it's amazing how sturdy money is to build that foundational bridge back to happiness again.
Right. When you get your money and they get their quarterback, it's amazing how quickly.
Kumbaya, baby. Let's hold hands and sing Kumbaya.
Best friends again. It is so funny.
Exactly.
And then the Ravens, Mike, they've done a good job because Odell Beckham Jr. they signed a while back. But in this draft, they go out, they get him a wide receiver in Zay Flowers. Billy, our guy, Zay Flowers, going to play with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, man.
How about us, by the way? 5 for 5. Everyone that we interviewed in the last 2 days drafted in the first round.
Yeah, and that's
Will
all
Levis
you
should have come on the show.
Yeah.
Will Levis should have come on the
that's
show.
on Levis.
That's exactly what went wrong with him. He
Right.
didn't come on the show.
The two surprising ones there is we're going to get to the draft. Will Levis and Michael Mayer, the tight end from Notre Dame, not going either. So if you didn't have him on the show either, that's another one. But Baltimore, listen, and they also picked up Aguilar as far as the offseason as well. So, I mean, as we're going to get to the Jets, Aaron Rodgers has to be looking at Baltimore and say, look what they did for him. And I was waiting for the Jets to do it. They didn't even do it. And Aaron had to be going, what the hell? Same thing happens in New York. That happens in Green Bay. But, Baltimore is set up nice. That division, if Deshaun Watson can get back to anything close to what he was, I've liked that team. We know what Cincinnati is. And we'll see with Pittsburgh, how long it takes them to come along. They faded a little bit last year.
Mike, you hosted the draft show along with Junior for DraftKings. And so what were your takeaways? That's the first round kind of unfolded here. We'll get to Will Levis. We will get to what the Texans did. I think a lot of people feel like the Eagles had a very good draft for obvious reasons. And we will get to your boy Michael Mayer not getting selected in the first round. But what were your Mayer? Is that what you were mouthing to me, Mikey? Thank you.
Yeah.
But what were your overall thoughts as the Mayer, tomato, play like a second rounder today? But what were your overall thoughts of lashing out of the poor kid? What were your overall thoughts as the first round unfolded?
Okay, let me take a deep breath so I can get all this in. First and foremost, I'm kind of split with Houston. I love what they did from the standpoint of the talent that they brought in. So there was a choice for Houston, right? Because we started hearing the rumors, are they not going to take a quarterback at 2, which I thought was ridiculous that they absolutely would. But if you're going to start to mess around, you have a lot of holes to fill. So that's when you think about trading back to get more acquisitions to fill those holes. They took CJ. Now, when you're dealing with a quarterback, throw all that out the window.
Right.
If you have the grade on a quarterback that you have a franchise one, then you take them. And they did with CJ Stroud. So good move. But then the trade with Arizona and then the trade back up again to get to 3, or the trade with Arizona to get to 3, I should say. It was Arizona who traded again to move up. To get then Will Anderson. I mean, my God. So I love the picks, but they gave up picks. They gave up assets to do it. And it's a team that needs volume. You always want quality, but you need volume quantity as well. So, and I had said this all along through, it all depends on the draft grades that you have for these guys. So their grades on Stroud and Will Anderson had to be very, very high to say, we're willing to do that, give up other assets because we think these guys could be important, integral parts in our team. So that was the decision they have to make. And that's the decision they made. So, and they got 2 of the most high-priced, high-valued guys in the draft. So I love what they did. Go out and get the Houston Texans fans have to be ecstatic. And new coaching staff, kind of new start. You start it with we'll hope your franchise quarterback, a great edge rusher, and here you go. The 2 surprising moves, and I absolutely need to preface this by saying I love the 2 players. And in a vacuum, I love that they run, that they catch. And this has nothing to do with taking a running back in the first round. I have no problem with it when a team wants to do that. But I just don't know about the fit. Bijan Robinson goes to Atlanta at 8, and Jahmyr Gibbs was even shocked. They had to look around, I think, for a Detroit hat, because when he got picked at 12 for the Lions. So the reason I say it, I mean, The Falcons last year were third in the league in rushing at 160 yards a game. Now, that included Marcus Mariota. Take Marcus's numbers out, and they're still a top 10 rushing team with Algiers and with Patterson running the ball. They had other holes to fill. This is another team where they need some quantity as well. I thought they should have gone on the defensive side of the ball. Again, absolutely nothing against Bijan Robinson. I think he's going to be excellent. And then for Jahmyr Gibbs, same thing. Jahmyr Gibbs catches a lot of balls out of the backfield. But for Detroit, their defense was bad. They needed help on the defensive side of the ball as well. They brought in Montgomery from Chicago. They had DeAndre Swift as well at running back there. So I was a little surprised I thought they would go tight end or even that early. I thought they'd go on the defensive side of the ball. So those picks were a little bit of a head scratcher to me.
Mike, I think your point with the running back position is a guy like Breece Hall, who was great for the Jets before he got injured, went in the second round, was picked like number 36 last year in the draft. It seems like you could find running backs just about anywhere that you don't need to take one in the first round. I'm with you on that, you know?
Unless you're in position for a luxury pick. Like listen, if all the edge rushers and Jalen Carter were gone by Philly at 10, I had said Philly should take Bijan Robinson because they lost Miles Sanders and they need that complement with Jalen Hurts. But that was kind of a luxury thing. I would think would have been great. Now, again, I think these guys could be productive with their teams. I just didn't know about a fit. I thought they had other needs that they needed to fill. So those, again, were probably the shocking things. We knew they were going to get the offensive tackles. We had 5 go. It was a late kind of run on the receivers. I think the first one went at 20 and Jackson Smith and Jigba. But then you went, 20, 21, 22, 23. You had 4 in a row.
All our guys.
So all those guys finally went, but they went a little later. And then obviously, Will Levis sliding out of the first round, Michael Mayer not being the first tight end. But that was iffy anyway because of Dalton Kincaid. It was between the two of them. They're different types of tight ends, but he doesn't go in the first round at all. So those are 2 of the biggest surprises to me.
Mike, if you believe in the 2 players or 3 players really you selected, here's the problem with what Houston did. And Mikey A asked a very good question in the chat here. Did they overpay? Because we have McShay telling us this was not a very good, talented draft, and you have 3 guys from this draft who are on your roster, and you're depending on those guys to be the guys that turn around your roster. Yeah,
you are, but
right.
It had to start with a quarterback. You can't.
You're right.
I'll say again, as long as you have that grade on him that says we believe he's a franchise guy, you can't not take a quarterback when you have no quarterback. So that was a no-brainer at 2 to me. Then the move to get Will Anderson, I mean, Rio Ryan's got to be pretty happy about that one as a former linebacker to work on the defensive side of the ball. That's what I'm saying, Stu. They needed quantity. You always want quality, but they needed quantity, but they felt these 2's grades were just too good to pass because they did give up a lot of assets for it.
All right, when we come back, we'll get into the big surprise of the draft, a quarterback not selected in the first round, and a quarterback a lot of people felt like was taken too high in the first round. We'll get Golic's thoughts on it next. All right, we'll get to Mikey A. He's back to being a Jets fan. I'm very excited about that. I didn't like the feeling I had last night of not caring about the NFL draft for the first time in my life because we have Aaron Rodgers. I don't like that feeling. You can make a mistake now and then. It doesn't matter. We have Aaron Rodgers. Mike, the big surprise by far is not that Anthony Richardson was taken in the first round. A lot of people thought Anthony Richardson would go in the first round. It's where he went in the first round, and he went to the Colts at number 4. So what were your thoughts there? He only started a handful of games for the Florida Gators. Gator fans wanted to see a lot more of Anthony Richardson. Talented kid, really, really enhanced his own stock at the scouting combine. Your favorite event, Mike. But what were your thoughts there with Richardson going to the Colts?
So if the Colts were going to take a quarterback, I had Richardson as my 3rd quarterback over Will Levis. So that move didn't surprise me. because he's not going to be a plug and play guy. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, as soon as they show up on campus, you give them the ball and say it's your team because that's where they are. As far as Indianapolis, they did bring in Gardner Minshew, who's had some starts and he's done well. He's going to be that bridge guy, and he knows it because he's been there before. So if anything else, he continues to audition for other teams if he's not going to stay there. Listen, I like Anthony Richardson. He has a high ceiling, but you still have to kind of cross your fingers. And again, most of the things you're going to say to the negative side of him have to do with the fact of experience. Okay, I mean, you not only have to read defenses and make decisions and throw into windows in college, but now go to the NFL, and all those things about the NFL are true. Every player is good. Everyone's bigger, faster, stronger, and the play is just much better. So you have to make a decision quicker, pre-snap, post-snap. You have to make a better throw into a tighter window and the right read. So it's going to take reps for him in practice in the film room and then in practical application on the field to learn those things so they become habit. Because what happens with a guy who's as athletic as he is, when they go into, and even when he goes in early on, he's going to trust his legs more than his arm, and he's going to take off before he should. But wait till you see him take off, and what he could possibly do. I'm excited to see. I am, unlike Trey Lance, who we didn't know a lot about, and San Francisco gave up a lot to get him to pick him up at number 3. I was unsure about that one and watching him about what he might do at this level, and we still don't know, and it's not his fault. It's because of injury. When I look at Anthony Richardson and say, okay, 13 starts, he's not going to play right away, I am way more excited as to his potential and what he can do once, he gets the reps and is a little more comfortable. So I really didn't have a problem with the pick as long as going in, it's not going to be a right away thing.
Billy, were you surprised by Anthony Richardson? I thought Levis would go first.
I was kind of surprised that he went as high as he did. I mean, it seemed like we were trending that way, that someone was probably going to take a chance on him. But at number 4, I think surprised some people. Yeah,
it's such an earth-saving move, though.
It's high because normally when you think of a draft pick, you look at all these early draft picks, it's like plug and play. Again, quarterback's the difference. Stroud and Young are plug and play, but with Richardson, you're not going to do that. So I think that's why a lot of people go, well, wait a minute. You have a pick at number 4. Why not get a player that can impact right away? But as always, when you're talking about the quarterback, you throw all conventional wisdom out the window.
I wonder if the Colts had taken Will Levis, if Richardson would have fallen the way Levis did. I don't think he would have. I think somebody would have come back to get Richardson.
Agreed. The upside.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Yep, 100%.
Mike, I kind of like now Seattle, a lot of people question them taking a wide receiver with their second pick, but I do like what they did in the first round here. I like both those players, Mike.
Oh, I do too. We're talking about Njigba,
Witherspoon
and Smith and Njigba from Ohio State, who I love. How great is it when you can basically be hurt your entire last year in college? He pulled a hammy against Notre Dame in game 1 and did not play a lot through the year, but still be the top wide receiver taken in the draft. I mean,
it's amazing. I'm telling you, Mike, had he not gotten injured, a lot of people felt like he was a top 5, top 10 pick. That's why I like what the Seahawks did.
I'm not going to lie. I'm surprised the run on wide receivers started at 20. I thought it would start a little higher, but there were a lot of teams with defensive needs, and you saw, those cornerbacks going or that offensive line as well. Listen, the cornerback class, I can't wait to see where these guys are because that's what you have to do in a draft. If you have to wait a couple of years to see what you're going to get. But I mean, between Witherspoon, Forbes, and Gonzalez, and Deontay Banks, I really like the kid out of Maryland.
It was the strength of the draft, Mike. That's what everyone said. Yeah.
That and offensive tackle, because you had 5 go in the first round. You had 4 go in the first 14 picks for offensive tackle. But yes, I'm a huge Witherspoon fan, the kid out of Illinois, lockdown corner, pretty good sized kid. So I like him. I mean, what a difference. And then you go to a guy like Emmanuel Forbes for Washington. They take him. This dude's 166 pounds. He's small, but he had 6 pick sixes in college and 14 picks overall. So I just love this cornerback class. So, yeah, even though Seattle passed on a Jalen Carter, and I mean, the Eagles just walked into it with what happened. But I do like Witherspoon, and it was a definite need for Seattle because their defense was awful.
Mike, you know what else it displays? Geno Smith, we believe in you. We're not going to look for your replacement. We're going to build a team around you. You had a good year. We believe in you. Here's a cornerback. Here's a wide receiver. Go out and do it again. I like that. There's no pressure on Geno Smith, you know?
What they did for him, I mean, incredible. So you have Lockett and you have Metcalf, and now you now you have Smith and Jigba. I mean, come on. They got to get the running game going. Their rush offense last year was in the area of 18, 19, something like that. So they got to be able to run the ball better. So we'll see.
Mike, they got the kid out of Michigan State a year ago. He's fantastic.
Yeah, but what? Yeah, they did. You're right.
Yes.
The wait till but the gifts they got for Geno Smith were absolutely incredible. So, good on them. I like that move a lot. Yeah, and who you're talking about, Trey? Kenneth Walker.
Yes.
The running back.
Was really good.
He was really good, but again, they were 18th in the league running the ball. So, I mean, you're in the lower half of rushing the ball. So if you could even that out a little bit with what could be a great passing game, what we thought about Seattle last year that they were rebuilding, Geno plays out of his mind. They have a good draft. Who knows where they're going to go now? It'd be interesting.
Not to bring this back to Aaron Rodgers, but he's on a new team now. He's supposed to be happy. Do you think he sees what the Seahawks have done for Geno Smith and thinks, if only once the Packers did this for me, this could have ended the right way?
Billy, I was thinking that last night, and then remember, by the time they picked at 15, none of the wide receivers had been taken. Now, I can see them not going. The only old lineman left at that point, all those tackles. And remember, some of those tackles you could kick down to guard. They had the versatility. But 4 of them were gone before the Jets picked. The only one left was Anton Harrison, who went 27 to Jacksonville. So I thought they would shift maybe to a wide receiver now to pair with Garrett Wilson. And they didn't go down that road. So while McDonald, the player, again, I like, I was surprised at the timing of that. But one thing you can never have enough of, and we had this in Philly with that D-line that we had. San Francisco, not when they were in the Super Bowl last time, their D-line, when you have depth and you can rotate at the defensive line, when you're rolling in guys that only have to play 35, 40, 50 at the most plays a game, going against O-line, and are good players, going against O-linemen who are playing 70 plays a game, that can be a real positive.
So talking to a bunch of Jet fans, do you read into them not taking a receiver thinking, you know what, DeAndre Hopkins, is this going to happen?
Well,
yes.
we're starting to hear now that Arizona, and I don't blame Arizona, keep him. I mean, I don't know why you would trade him away. I don't know why you would trade him away. So I don't think they should. I know Aaron wants him, but hell, Arizona should want him. You got a left tackle to protect Kyler Murray now and Paris Johnson. I don't know why you would trade him at this point, but boy, that would be a great get, obviously, if the Jets could do it. But yeah, I don't think there's any doubt Aaron's going again. No wide receiver coming my way. And it's not like there weren't any good ones available. They were all available by the time the Jets picked.
Were you guys rooting at home or in studio, wherever you were, like a lot of people were at home, saying, God, I hope the Packers take a wide receiver with the first pick?
Billy, I thought for the rest of the time the Packers would just take wide receivers with their first pick, like for the remainder of time. But taking a defensive tackle out of Iowa just shows Aaron, hey, it wasn't just you, man. We do this to every quarterback.
This was the program. This wasn't you. Yeah, they take Lucas Van Ness, who played end and edge at Iowa, but he can be that guy that can kind of slide down inside and nickel if they want him to. But yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought for sure, again, when they picked, all the wide receivers were available as well, and they didn't go down that road. So
hey, maybe the wide receivers just aren't that good. I don't know.
Maybe. I like them now. A lot of them.
Sorry.
Yeah, a few of them are slots, as we understand, but still. Yeah, you guys put them in the first round. Well done.
Yeah. Mikey, you were glowing 2 days ago, and now you're an absolute wreck. What is happening with you? I mean,
the Jets reminded me why we're like the only thing they couldn't take in this draft was an outside edge rusher because they have 6 of them. They have 6 guys who can do that. And you know what? You know what it seemed like to me? You ever see the movie Miracle on Ice? Yeah. There's a moment at the end where the Russians don't know what to do losing. And Kurt Russell turns and he goes, they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. The Jets are in win now mode and they don't know what to do. It was a panic pick to take that guy.
Who would you have taken, Mikey A? Where would you have gone there?
You could have taken the wide receiver and said, hey, Aaron, here's another weapon. You could have taken a tight end and said, here's another weapon. You could have taken a defensive tackle, of which you have 2. You could have taken a safety, a linebacker, another offensive lineman. You could have reached for one. I get that they probably wanted the offensive lineman, and he wasn't there because the Patriots do what they do.
I think that was the big thing. I think they would have taken an O lineman. They did have 45 sacks last year. They had multiple players with decent amount of sacks. We know their defense is really good. Again, I don't mind adding depth to a D line because it is a huge positive. But when you have other needs, and I thought they did have other needs, they could have addressed there. So I agree with you. Again, it's not on the player. I like the player. It's always the fit we're talking about.
Mikey mentioned the Patriots. How do the Patriots always do it? How do they trade down and still end up with Christian Gonzalez?
It's amazing.
That's why no matter what, even as last year was going on and there was no offensive coordinator, and we're head scratching at all the moves, and it turns out we were all justified because they weren't very good last year, is the fact that you give Bill Belichick the benefit of the doubt, right? I mean, as we were sitting there doing the show, Charlotte Wilder was with us, and we were asking about bold predictions earlier in the draft, and she said she basically knows it's not bold, but New England's going to trade down. Is what they do, and they're going to win. And boom, she was right. They trade back. They end up getting an excellent corner in Gonzalez. So that's Bill, man. Bill's been doing it for years. Bill has a hardware to show for it, and he gets it done. Now they got to obviously get better on the field, and we'll see how the whole Mac Jones, Bailey, Zappi quarterback competition turns out. But that's going to be a real issue for them.
Mike, the Jets could still get the tight end out of Notre Dame. Mingo's still available. Christian Watson was a second-round pick. I mean, listen, stop. You're stressing me out. I want to be able to enjoy the fact that we have Aaron Rodgers. Like, enough. What are you doing to me?
No, you should listen. You should be fine. I would not worry about that. Just hang in there. You're okay.
I'm fine.
You do have him. You got Lazar. You have Wilson. So I agree. You can get obviously second, third round talent that could step in and play right away. We see it all the time. So there's still available players out there.
What'd you say?
They just drafted second, third round.
I mean, seriously. I mean, we spent 40 years complaining about every single draft. We have Aaron Rodgers.
Well, you have to separate. You got Aaron Rodgers, it was a great move, but now we're talking about the draft. And the draft pick it was a little iffy. So I mean, you can separate the two. Overall, you should still be happy, but you're preparing for that draft and that first round pick. And everybody, you think it's going to go one way, but they obviously have a plan. Again, they don't give a damn what we think. They have a plan. They have their grades, and come tomorrow. Or Sunday after all 7 rounds are over, every team is going to say, we got exactly the guy we want.
Is there any scenario where the Jets didn't go to Aaron Rodgers and say, hey, this is who we're taking, you good with it? Any scenario?
No.
Thank you. Okay.
No.
So let's be good with it. Okay. He was good with us not taking a wide receiver, therefore I am good with us.
I don't know if he was good with him not taking a receiver, but I don't think they asked him or consulted with him.
Mike, you know what? They wanted to make him feel like he was at home. We'll discuss Will Levis after this.
Exactly. Yeah. Do we feel bad for? Do you feel bad for guys like this? I mean, this happened with Brady Quinn years ago, where you're sitting in the green room and all of a sudden it's like, hey, let's move this guy somewhere else because he's not getting picked. And we saw that with Will. There's a player every year that it happens to. And when it happens to a high-profile quarterback, it gets magnified. So. I mean, what a bummer.
I was there when Geno Smith was the guy that set, and he had, the funny thing about it was he had that suit on, you know, with all the stuff, and then he gets picked in like the top 5 picks of day 2, and he's wearing a sweater.
Yeah.
You know, like you do all this stuff to you know, do the whole
prepare.
fashion thing, and then when you finally get your moment, you're wearing a sweater.
I did feel bad for Will Levis. Billy, did you feel bad? Just like Will Levis watching that thing unfold and us having to watch Will Levis. I always feel bad in that spot. But the deeper you go in the draft, the greater likelihood is you'll land on a very good team. And so,
well, also remember the thing is too, now at least, you know, he's not in the first round. He doesn't have to deal with a 5th-year option. I mean, you always got to look for positives, right? You go in the second round, it's a 4-year deal.
yeah.
So you can become a free agent sooner, and they don't have that option for you if you're playing and playing well. So, you know, as I said, you know, I remember interviewing Aaron Rodgers when I was working the draft, and when Aaron dropped into the 20s and he was ticked off. And we had him right after that. Greeny and I are interviewing him, and he's literally ticked off. And at one point, I was like, Aaron, I went 255 in the draft. I was just happy my name got called. You're drafted. You still went in the first round. You're a first-round quarterback. But, man, you know, at that age, that young age where you're on top of the world, he just wouldn't. He was like, no, he was ticked off. I was like, wow. You know, and I guess because I was a late-round pick, my thought process is just get me to a position where I get issued shoulder pads and a helmet. And then I have some control over what happens. But that's the thought process of a late-round pick as opposed to these guys that are thinking they're going in the first round.
I think one of the interesting things with Will is, so Jalen Carter didn't slide that much, right? He had his off-the-field issues.
Right.
He had not a great pro day. Jackson Smith and Jigba had injuries, and he was kind of still didn't slide that much. Will had a toe situation, and a toe that cost him 2 games may be the reason why he was not drafted in the first round. And of all the parts on your body, the toe is what it is that probably cost this guy millions of dollars in money in the draft.
That would be something. I don't know if that, in fact, was the case, but I know what you're saying. I mean, it is amazing what little, especially nowadays, everything gets torn apart by a doctor. Again, that was probably part of it. But as I said, he was quite, in all honesty, a healthy Hendon Hooker would have been ahead of him, in my opinion. So you're going to get the possibility of 2 quarterbacks who could be the future of your team in Hooker and in Will Levis, not in the first round. And who knows? You know, maybe a quarter. Look at Brock Purdy, who's a 7th round. There's other quarterbacks out there as well that could maybe hit it as well. So we'll see.
Mike, when you look at the second round and the order of the team selecting, this might work out perfectly for Seattle. The fact that they got 2 players in the draft in the first round that we both liked, that we discussed earlier, but you have Pittsburgh. They're not going to take a quarterback, right? They just took the kid last year, Pickett. You have Arizona not taking a quarterback. You have the Lions who are happy with Goff. You have the Colts who just took Richardson. And then it goes Rams and Seahawks. And so that could be a place for Levis and Hooker. So it looks like, and Seattle could still end up with their quarterback after not taking one in the first round.
So to your point, Stu, now is when you try and steal. This is what happens now with teams. First round is first round. Now you try and, so guys like Levis, guys like Mayer, who were first round talent that didn't go in the first round. Now it's where can you steal them? And that's what happens as you start going down your draft board to the guys projected to go, in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. Can you get a 2nd rounder? Can we trade and get them later in the 2nd rounder? If we think maybe the end of the 2nd round, can we push it, maybe get them in the 3rd round? So now they're trying to do the steal thing. And it's a game, of how far do you play the game to where somebody else takes a guy you're trying to maneuver back to get, to get him at a spot that won't, you're still slotted basically for pay. But that's kind of what goes on now. But listen, we'll be talking about some 2nd rounders and 3rd rounders, and maybe later than that, more than some of the 1st rounders, because we know some of the 1st rounders will be busts, and we know some of the 2nd through 7th rounders will be all pros at some point. That's just the way it works every year.
I'm very upset I missed this message from Billy where he says he'd cut off his toe.
Yeah, if I knew that my toe was an issue and may cost me millions of dollars, I'd say cut it off. We'll do it together.
You do a Ronnie Lott. Yeah, Billy would do a Ronnie Lott. Say, get rid of that thing. Get rid of that appendage. It's costing me money.
Now, I don't know if that would impact my draft stock further because I'd then have 9 toes, and then that would definitely be an issue. But
True.
I'd say, listen, if you're going to worried about this toe, let's cut it off together on stage. Raj can cut it off for me. You know what I mean? I don't care.
Look how tough I am.
You'd have to do a whole nother pro day on 9 toes to see how you would do. Yeah.
A separate pro day for the players with 9 toes.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
Old 9 toes Gil.
Oh, he could have been a great one if he had 10 toes.
Billy 9 toes.
Billy 9.
Wow.
Toes. Mike, before we get to the Eagles, quickly, I love the Bills pick of Kincaid, the tight end. Josh Allen needs a weapon. They got him one. I thought that was a great pick. What do you think?
Oh, to go with Knox? I mean, listen, if you can get 2 quality tight ends on the field at the same time. So, yeah. And again, I had Mayer maybe for personal reasons, but I still think he was the best tight end in this draft. He was certainly the most complete tight end. But Kincaid, what he does well, he's kind of like a wide receiver / tight end. He can burn the middle of the field for you. He can stretch it as a tight end. So that's a valuable weapon. Josh Allen had to be ecstatic, when he saw that, just another weapon to throw to. So, yeah, good pick.
So the Eagles, Mike, your Philadelphia Eagles, who made it to the Super Bowl. Jalen, by the way, Georgia, Kirby Smart. My goodness, what that man is putting into the NFL every single year is absurd, Mike. I say that because the Eagles got not 1 but 2 defenders out of the University of Georgia.
It's kind of like Kentucky years back, right? They were getting the one and dones and having 3 and 4 first-round picks. It was incredible. You want to talk about the rich get richer in a conference that we've already talked about that is not very deep. We sit there and say Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets and they're a Super Bowl contender. Well, you know what? Get in line, because there's a lot of teams in the AFC, but in the NFC, I mean, they're not. San Francisco has a ton of talent, but we have no idea what's going to happen at the quarterback position with the 2 injured guys right now. So, I mean, who are we talking about? Dallas, we expect every year, is Dallas finally going to do it? We don't know.
Seattle.
In the NFC. But we know Philadelphia is absolutely stacked without question with Jalen Hurts and what he did on that offense, that offensive line, Kelsey coming back. They do have to replace the right guard. But then defensively, my God, all these guys on what we talked about, and I covered them. This was a couple of years ago. When I watched that defense, I did 2 of their games, and I said, this is one of the great defenses to play in college football. They have 4 guys. They have 4 guys off of that defense, and Jordan Davis and Jacoby Dean already on the team, and then, of course, Carter and Nolan Smith. It's just stunning. Imagine when they're all in the field at the same time. It's just going to be like, another practice or another day at Georgia for them. But for, again, a defense that had 70 sacks. Now, they did lose a couple of safeties, obviously, and so they have some holes to fill. Brian Branch is still out there. Maybe that's a guy that they can grab. I mean, the safety from Alabama, who is phenomenal. But, I mean, it is – so Kirby Smart, tip of the cap to you. And these players, what you guys have done, and now you're all together again in Philadelphia. Wow. That's all I can say as well. They have to be right now such a heavy favorite. I'm sure odds will come out at some point, right? Of
coming out of the NFC? Yeah, they have to be heavy favorites. Yeah.
Heavy. While in the AFC, you could probably list 5 teams. In the NFC, it's Eagles and then whoever you want to stack up there, and we'll see what happens.
Mike, what are we to do with the AFC? Like, I'm excited we have Aaron Rodgers, but Jesus Christ, when you talk, so here are the quarterbacks in that conference, okay? Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Jimmy Garoppolo, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. I haven't gotten to Deshaun Watson yet. I haven't gotten to Bryce Young, who's going to be a rookie, or Anthony Richardson. I mean, Russell Wilson could have a resurgence. This
Yeah,
is absurd how good the quarterbacks are in the AFC. I'm not certain I've ever seen a conference with such great, like the imbalance of quarterbacks, AFC, NFC. I'm not certain I've ever seen that in all my years watching the NFL.
And how young, because, at a point we are at, a Peyton Manning, an Eli Manning, a Tom Brady, an Aaron Rodgers, the older quarterback guard. And we're like, okay, when these guys are done, and now with Brady out, 3 of them, are done, and we still have Aaron Rodgers. We're like, okay, it's kind of like how the NBA, I think, the influx of over the last years of the point of the guards and how good they've been, we're getting that of the quarterbacks in the NFL. And because all the guys you mentioned, let's start figuring out the average age. I mean, they're going to be around for a while. How many of these quarterbacks are still on their rookie deals and already putting themselves in top 10 category in the NFL? It is absolutely ridiculous. So the amount of money that's going to be paid to quarterbacks soon already, but as I said, the next mark is going to be, X amount of years, X amount of money, 200 million guaranteed. That's certainly where we're going with that position.
I left Tua out. I mean, it's unbelievable. Yes.
It is stunning. And it is pretty wild now with, well, I had said a while ago, a couple drafts ago, when the talks of the Justin Fields and the Jalen Hurtses and stuff of the world are coming out, I had said, and it's not like my opinion, I was like, name me the last Ohio State or Alabama quarterback that did anything in the NFL, right? And now I like Justin Fields. All those people talking about trading him and taking Bryce Young, that's ridiculous. I love Fields. My God, maybe been sacked, 91 times in his first couple of years. I love that, his passing needs to get better, but he's got to have the ability to pass and to stay there and pass. But between him, now we'll see what C.J. Stroud does for Ohio State. Jalen Hurts, and I still say he's an Alabama quarterback, even though he transferred the last year to Oklahoma. What he's doing, Tua was looking good till he got his head bounced off the turf and it got handled horribly. So we're seeing some of the quarterbacks from those two teams because they're great college teams, but we're always like, okay, how do they translate to the NFL? For Ohio State and Alabama, it had been a long while before we talked about one of those colleges' quarterbacks that were great in the NFL.
All right, Mike, it is time for your favorite part, our favorite part of every draft. It's a staple. It's time to give letter grades, okay? Yep. Billy is into this. Yeah.
Letter grades.
So, Mike, you tell us where you want to start here in terms of, you want to go Houston Texans? Like, let's start there.
Yeah.
Texans.
We'll start with the Panthers. Let's just go in order.
Okay. All right.
All 31.
He's going to kill us.
I'm so waiting for the letters to be F and U.
Hint.
So we'll do the top 5. How about that?
Oh, wow. This is more than I was expecting.
Oh, wow. This is exciting. The top 5.
Maybe the top 2.
Okay.
Carolina, I mean, listen, you just have to go. They had the one pick. You just have to go on who they got. They got arguably now. I had Stroud at the top, but I think you have to give them an A. They needed a quarterback. They brought in an offense in the offseason, right? In Hurst, in Thielen, in Chark. So they're trying to help out on the offensive side. Now they got a quarterback. Listen, I'm one of those who is a generous grader. I'll give them an A.
Right.
Houston, it's either a B, maybe a B plus. The talent is an A plus, but because of the assets that they gave up and they need quantity, that's what maybe brings it down a little bit to an A minus or a B plus.
Okay.
I'm going to go A minus.
A minus for the Texans.
Remember, they gave up a first rounder next year, but they also had to.
Yeah.
B plus.
Yeah, exactly. No, A minus.
Okay.
Colts, Anthony Richardson. We're obviously not gonna know for a little bit.
Yeah. Ungraded. I mean.
Yeah, maybe an I for incomplete. It's gonna be a while.
An INC.
Yeah. Oh, Seattle, I give an A for sure. I mean,
Seattle did great.
And getting the wide receiver. I mean,
and still having a chance to get a quarterback today. Yes.
It's exactly right. I love what they have done. They're back in the fold there. The Rams we're still not sure of. The Cardinals I have no idea about. 49ers still have all the talent, but we don't know about the quarterback. So let's see what Seattle can do.
Mike, the Seahawks, and I can't believe I'm saying this, what a strange world we've arrived in 10 years after the Jets had him. They might look at the landscape of the NFC and say, hey, you know what? We have the best quarterback in that conference. We're the second best.
That.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, think about, you just rattled off everything in the NFC, AFC. The
Right.
NFC, it's Jalen Hurts, and then where are you going?
Gino.
I mean, Gino, you got Dak
Unbelievable.
Prescott.
Yes.
I mean, Kirk Cousins.
You can make an argument Geno Smith last year was the second best quarterback in the NFC. An easy one.
Yeah.
Yes.
And listen, if Brock Purdy didn't get hurt and led that team to the Super Bowl, he'd be listed as one of the better quarterbacks. I mean, that's where we are right now.
I know.
You know, where we putting Kyler Murray. I'm still not sold. So the NFC, man, what a crapshoot.
I know. All right, so you went
After
AA
Philly.
minus. You done grading? You good? I thought
Yeah,
for sure
done.
your 5 were going to be FUCKU or something like that.
No, I'll do that on my own to you guys because it just aggravates the hell out of me. I hate grades. You know what I hate even worse, and he's got to hate it even worse. Todd McShay is going to have to do a mock draft pretty soon for next year.
I can't wait.
I can't wait to crush his Jets pick.
He promised Stugotz he'd have it by Thursday.
He did. He promised me you have it by Thursday, Mike.
That is just stunning.
I
wow.
need it. Yeah. Mike EA's going to crush their pick.
Yeah, of course he is.
He's going to have the Packers taking a nose tackle. All right, Mike, what are you doing the rest of the weekend here for DraftKings?
I'm just going to go on my son Gojo's show and hang out there. And I'm in Boston at their studio. So that means I get to see my son Jake, his wife Jenny, and my grandson Jackson. So that's what I'll do. I'll be doing grandpa stuff after this last couple of days.
All right. Well, enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the time with family. Hopefully, your Notre Dame tight end. Hopefully he gets drafted. Yeah.
Hopefully he gets drafted.
I'd like to see the Jets take him if they can get him. You know.
Man, he's going to be one ticked off second rounder. That's for sure. With a chip on his shoulder. Good for him. I think he's going to be excellent.
He'd be great for the Dolphins. In all seriousness, Billy, he'd be great for Tua. He would be.
Yeah, definitely would.
Yeah.
Right,
Billy
guys,
wants
enjoy.
champions. He doesn't want guys who just merely make it to the Final Four. You know.
Okay, we're done.
All right.
And we're done. And we're done.